it's like, it just can't be done. You know, it's very difficult, but I'm gonna try to do some highlights, and then I think what I decided to do is I'm gonna make it where, you know, we can have a discussion also. You know, group discussion, and that way we can, you know, maybe hit some of the topics that you may want to hit. But let me give you a quick background, a quick definition. Stress, by definition, is whenever you put pressure or tension that's exerted on a material object. That's a form of stress if something is pressed on a material object. But also, mentally, you can be stressed too. And stress can come from it can be mentally or emotional strain or tension or demanding. So stress involves something really demanding, putting pressure either on you physically or mentally. Okay? And you know, bad stress. Now you can have some good stress, like for instance, people might be preparing for something, you know, getting ready. I mean, you know, Minister Celestine, Reverend Celestine, he got ready for something good, but hopefully this will be a good stress for him because hopefully the results come out good because he had to get things together. That's a form of stress. Yeah. For instance, when a person is getting ready to get married, that's a form of stress. Let's say if a person is pregnant, you're getting ready for her to have the baby, that is a form of stress. Okay? So, but in the long, sort of good stress that you get ready for it. And we call that eustress. So, you're looking for good results. Now, I did a quick survey and I did a quick study, and believe me, there's a whole lot I'm leaving out, but let me give you some of the top reasons in order that it did socially that causes the most stress. Okay, and again, I'm leaving some things out, but I'm going by the order that leads stress. Number one, in that study, death of a spouse. I don't know if have anyone ever had a death of a spouse here? I mean, I did. And, I had 2 little kids too. And that is that's very, very traumatic, the death of a spouse to see, I had to bring up a little boy and a little girl. And that was, to see her, dying in the same house, and she wanted to pass away at home. And then, I have a little boy, I have a little girl, and that was very, very stressful. Very stressful. That happens, so you just love your wife, and God bless me, years later after I brought my kids up, and with the, my daughter was the last one to go. I mean, my son went to school in Florida, FIU in Miami, and my daughter went to Florida A&M. Then after I brought them up, then, God bless me with another wife. But that was years later. Death of a spouse. Divorce. Okay? Marital separation. Okay? Jail term. Okay? Death of a family member. Have you guys had that happen to you? Yeah. A family member? And that's pretty painful. Just the past, my brother's passed away in July. I mean, I've had several deaths even since, 2020. A personal injury or illness. Marriage is stressful. Okay? Being fired at work is stressful. Marital reconciliation is stressful. Retirement is stressful. If you have a change in the family, the health of a family member, that's stressful. Pregnancy while a woman is pregnant is stressful. Sexual difficulties is very stressful. Now, we have all men here, so I'm going to keep it real. Yeah. Let me keep it real. Okay? Men having erectile dysfunction, or men having, inability to have an erection. As a little youngster, I was like, You know, I was ready to go. As a youngster, you know, you just need a couple of minutes for a break and then get started again. Well, it doesn't work like that in the real world. As we get older, that's normal. Erectile dysfunction is a form of stress, and it's a form of stress that can eventually, sexual difficulties not only leads to stress with you, anxiety-wise, it brings up your stress, and then that makes your erectile dysfunction even worse because you're so anxious. Like, you know, man, so in other words, instead of you naturally doing something, which is what happened while you were younger, you're just like, that's the only thing on your mind is keeping it real, like, hey, when are we gonna get started? But now, what happened with a man now is that, man, I'm getting ready to be intimate with my wife or my, you know, I'm gonna keep it real, could be girlfriend or whatever. Am I gonna be able to get it up? That's stressful. Oh, and for us, and then it's also stressful sometimes as women age, right? See, men and women are different cycles. Okay, you look at the animal kingdom, because that's what we are. In reality, we animals that have a free will. We have the same characteristics of animals. You know, many times we act like animals. But, you know, but we created in the image of God. But there's some certain similarities that we have. And notice that the female is only at certain times she's ready to be, reproduce. It's also like that in the human thing. There's only certain times that a female many times is really sexually want to do something. Now, while she's dating you, she's gonna like, I want to do this, as much as you want. I don't want to lose this guy. But then theoretically, when you get married, it don't work like that. That can be stress in a relationship. Okay? Hey, I'm on with dating. If we want to do something sexually, we can go ahead and do it. Now, well, no, I got the kids to deal with. I got this to deal with. I got the house to deal with. That leads to a lot of stress. And many times that leads a man into temptation. Okay? Because that other woman out there would be tempted. There's a temptation, which is a form of stress. Because, let me cut the lights, when it gets dark, that's when you come on out. You start looking around. Let me get out there, let me get over there. I ain't going out there in the middle of the day. But just when you do that, that's a form of stress. But you know what? We have to also remember the same way that God created these animals like predators, they can stay at night. God also has perfect vision. Also. Okay? Financial issues, including paying the bills, it can be stressful. So notice the main thing that causes you stress, or causes us stress. And I'm sure all of us, and let me ask you a question. Have all of us been under stress at some time in our lives or under stress? Yes. There's no doubt. That's a crazy question. Yeah. The three major causes of stress, and I want you to analyze this, because you have to, the prophet Isaiah said, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Name the three major things are family issues, no matter what it is, health issues, and something related to job, which could be financial, it could be getting fired, it could be, at work or whatever. Okay, family issues could be the various issues that take place within your family, with your wife or your girlfriend or your kids or your whatever. Those are your three main things that lead to stress. What's the effect of stress? Let me give you the physical effect of stress, and I'm going to give you the mental effects of stress. One physical effect of stress, people have headaches. Another one is insomnia, meaning they can't sleep. A third thing is heart disease or high blood pressure. I remember when I was in medical school, I'm really showing my age now when I do this. We used to put people on one blood pressure medicine. And then when I was an intern, we used to live at the hospital. They don't do that anymore, it's illegal. But I'm sure you saw those old movies where the doctors, you get there early. I used to get there Saturday morning at 7, and I don't leave it till Monday night. And we were up the whole time. It was horrible like that. But when I was in medical school, I'll never forget that we put people on one medication for their blood pressure. And as an intern, if I put somebody on 2, or put them on, it was almost unheard of to put them on 3. I would have to tell my attending doctor, my head doctor, why you have this person on 2 different medicines for their blood pressure? Why you have them on 2 different medicines, 3 different medicines for their blood pressure? Okay? Because one of the reasons, because of stress, and then later on I'm talking about nutrition, it's very uncommon to see people only on 1 medication for their blood pressure. Now it's just the reverse. Everybody's taking at least 2 or 3 different medications for their blood pressure. And that's considered the norm now. Back then it wasn't considered the norm. But stress plays a big role in that. We're killing ourselves. It can also lead to obesity. It can also lead to fatigue. Stress will wear you out. You have a hormone in you. I don't want to get too carried away. Have you guys heard of steroids or cortisol? Every time you get stressed, you release cortisol. And what happens is that one thing about steroids suppresses the immune system. Okay? Matter of fact, when we had these people dying from COVID, what we used to do as doctors, a lot of people didn't realize this, the thing that was killing the people was our immune system. We had different lymphocytes, and we had to actually suppress the immune system sometimes by giving you steroids. We used to start off by treating like that, and you know, to suppress it. The immune system, steroids are released, and that's good, but it will wear you out. Stress will wear you out, and that's one of the reasons there's a chemical called, 17. I'm not going to get into all that, but you have that floating around in your body, and stress will kill you. And it leads to stomach issues and things like that. Another thing to do is mentally with stress, obviously, it leads to frustration. So you need to know your boiling point. It leads to depression. Okay? It leads to worrying. We worry about things based on our limited perception of things. Let me tell you how things are. When I was in school back in the old days, they used to tell us we only had 9 planets. Now we have better technology. Look this up yourself. Don't even go by what I'm saying. In the Milky Way galaxy alone, in the Milky Way galaxy, there's at least, and maybe more than this, 100 billion, with a B, 100 billion planets. And we only just on this little tiny planet, and our perception of things is so limited. And we worry about things. God give us senses on our eyes, senses, to see, smell, taste, touch, and hear. We are so limited. As big as this universe is, we only can see what's in front of us. So technically, you don't even know who's at that door right now behind you. Everybody looking at this thing. Let me ask you something. Is somebody standing at that door?
I just heard a car door.
Huh?
I just heard a car door.
Yeah, but somebody at that door right now behind you? Yeah, you don't really know. You don't know. Yeah. You're assuming it's not. Yeah. By the way, somebody like, hey, don't do that to him. Okay. Somebody get ready to hit you on your head, by the way. You know that? Now he's looking back now. He's trying to hide it. He bent down, he went. he looked back. He went like that. Right? He looked back. Do you imagine? Jesus said, he was talking about don't worry. Birds, they fly free and God takes care of them. And we spend a lot of time worrying and getting stressed out based on the limited stuff that we see. And by the way, there's somebody at the back door. Turn around. Y'all all said yes, y'all failed the test. Yeah. There's somebody at the door right there, seriously. So I'm just trying to say how your limited perception is so limited that we worry about things that we can't see. That's why you have to have faith. Faith is based on not what you see, it's based on what you don't see. Faith and work. So they have worrying. Now many times, why we have so much stress? 4 things that can do it. Culture, meaning I'm doing it because everybody else is doing it. Tradition, we always done it that way. Folks, the universe has changed. I mean, it was 80 degrees here yesterday in South Carolina, and I was talking to my daughter living in LA, and it's been like 59 degrees there, 60 degrees, everything's shifts. And I'm gonna get into all that too, that's the scientific thing. Tradition, we've always done it this way, things have changed, okay? Reasoning, I do it that way because it's logical. Or your emotions, you do it based on your emotions, your heart. One thing about your heart don't have a brain. Your heart is emotion, okay? Sometimes you do things and get stressed out. This is not a brain, this is a feelings, okay? That's why sometimes you say, how can this person love this person? Because the emotion of your heart, okay? It's feelings. So emotions many times put us under stress. Now, there are sometimes, but you guys talk about it, God allows stress in our lives. If you don't believe that, read the story of Job. Sometimes bearing stress or learning it, God's allowing you to eventually become a testimony for somebody. Okay? Because, if you don't go through it many times, you can't help anybody else. Okay? That's in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, 3-7. And it also helps build up character that you guys have said. He builds us up by going through stress. You see guys, and he's an exercise guy, you see guys go through the stress with their muscles and things like that. In order to build himself up is the same thing. You have to go through things. You know how you say no pain, no gain? Many times. So many times you can't, God allows us to have stress. But one thing I want you guys to do, there's something we call, in order for me to remember things, we usually call a mnemonic. And what a mnemonic is that, you spell out a word and that's how you remember things. And that's how we used to do that. I mean, I did that in school because, when I was in school, I remember the work, when I was the work in college was much harder for me than the work in medical school, but in medical school was so much information. So you have to do things like mnemonic and do the same thing. This one is something we call New Start. And what New Start is a plan that was created at Loma University, and these are the 8 laws of health that I want you guys to really focus in on. And the way you can remember it is the word New Start. So let me start with the first one. New Start is NEWSTART. N, to help you with your stress. Nutrition. We got to eat better. You got to eat better. You got to cut back on your meat. We're not designed to eat meat. I don't care what anybody say. We are not designed to eat meat. Any animal or anything that eat meat don't live as long. God, when he designed us, you take a look at animals like horses, a vegetarian type thing, they live much longer. Our teeth are made different. When you see us, you look at a horse or you see a rhinoceros, they suck up their water, they drink their water, as opposed to various predators that eat meat, they lap it up. Lap it up, their water, or lap up whatever they're doing. Also, we chew like this. Even though my wife said I don't chew my food most of the time, so I just put it in there and swallow it. But I disagree with that. But we chew like this. That's how we do. But notice what they do. They chew like this. You notice that? Because they created different. So we have to cut back on our meat. Too much fast food these days. We're in a microwave society and we put things in a microwave or we get fast food. I'm not saying don't eat any fast food, right? But I'm saying we can't eat so much of that. It gets carried away and it affects us. We need more fruits and more vegetables. Sweets, which is my weakness. Cancer cells, they love sweets. Have you guys ever heard of something? You probably never heard of it too much of it because most of the time we don't use this because it's so expensive. Have you guys ever heard of what's called a PET scan? Have you guys heard of that? PET scan? We don't use it too much because insurance companies don't want to pay for it. What a PET scan is that you take radionuclear sugar and you put it in the body. And many times, wherever that sugar go to, there's cancer cells waiting to eat it up. And that's how we find it. So there's cancer right there. You know that? That's amazing. Even before you might even sit on a CAT scan or see something else, it eats it so quick, it can't wait. And it goes and eats it up. And then we can follow that thing and see, oh, there's some cancer hiding right there. So we got to cut back on our sweets. Okay? That's what N stand for. Get better nutrition to help you with your stress. Next is E. Know what E stand for? Can you imagine? I'll give you a hint.
Exercise.
Right. Exercise. Okay? I pointed to you. Yeah, exercise. Walking. Jogging. Running for some people. Now, everybody can't do the same thing. Okay? Yoga. Yoga is very good. It should be done uninterrupted. It builds your body. It helps you with fatigues. And also it helps you with stress. I know my mother used to always tell me, and I never understood this when she was young. Maybe she was telling me, said, boy, you need to go outside and exercise. And I guess maybe I was getting on her nerves, I don't know. But exercise will really help you with your stress in some form. Now, again, you know, everybody can't go out there and run a marathon. Everybody can't go out there, and some people may have trouble walking. But we can do some things. I mean, he would know more about those kind of things, you know, than I would know. But exercise, you know, just sitting, you know, can't you do some sitting down too also?
Yes.
Yeah. But we don't know about those things, so we have to learn about that. Okay? W, what do you think that stands for? Good health now.
Wait.
No, not weight.
One.
Say again?
One.
Water.
Water.
That's it. Right. W stand for water. Now let me ask you a question. We are made from the, you know, we're made, you know, whatever you burn, that's what you can see. We are made from the earth, right? You know, the things from the earth. I mean, when you get cremated, you go back to the earth. I mean, everything we made from the earth. So you want to look at the earth and things like that. It's plants and things. You know, you look at plants and look at grass. Let me ask you guys a question. If somebody asked you to watch their plant while they went on a 1 month vacation or went someplace, and all you did was put tea on it, iced tea on it, what's gonna happen to that plant? That person, yeah, they gonna die and you gonna die when they get back. What are you gonna do? You put water. Do I water my plants or do I tea my plants? Do I Kool-Aid my plants? Do I soda my plants? Water, right? Our body is composed of 70% water. The earth is 70% water also, is the thing. God gives us that hint right there. But yet, and I put myself, this is my weakness right here, yet, we don't water our plant, which is our body. We tea it, we Kool-Aid it, we alcohol it, and then all of a sudden we make it a bottle like this, and a bottle like that take a week to finish. You know, it take you 1 week. I know what I'm talking about. And there's a major accomplishment. Yeah, don't go try to drink water now, Casey. I see you. Water now. Casey, you got that water. You got that water several hours ago. What you doing? Don't try to do it now. Yeah, I want to see that. But I want to see what happened to that bottle about 24 hours from now. Casey be going, oh yeah, I still got some. So we got. It helps flush out your toxins in your body. It's one of the ways to flush out the toxins. Okay? It keeps you from getting dehydrated. Okay? You can get dehydrated in the summer, you can get dehydrated in the winter. It helps you from getting dehydrated. When you don't drink enough water, and water is very important. Matter of fact, water is so important. Do you realize that on any planets that we see, one of the ways they tell you this as scientists, Because, as scientists, wherever you see water, you see life. Yep. Have you guys, look it up on the internet. Don't go by what I'm saying. I might be making this up. Water is life. Now, again, somebody said, how much water should I drink? Everybody's different. You might have a person who have real bad heart failure. I'm not gonna tell them to drink. They drink a whole lot of water. Not be able to get rid of it. Or you look at a person. So you have to talk to your doctor, your healthcare provider, how much you can drink to play it on the safe side. Some people say drink half your body weight. Some have said that, but not everybody can do that. Well, when you get dehydrated, guess what happens? Your body shuts, your kidneys shut down. Yeah, your muscles lock. The kidneys shut down. Why is the kidney shutting down? It's trying to retain water. When you go to the bathroom and you pass water, in most cases, you should be able to go to that bathroom and use the bathroom. I should not even be able to tell that you used it, to pass water. I mean, your water, people coming in there, water all, yellow and that's what's normal for orange and yellow. That's not, no, it's supposed to be clear. That means you still get toxins out your body. Water keeps you hydrated also. And speaking about nutrition and food, water keeps your GI tract working. Because, it keeps it working. And that's why when you go to the bathroom and even have a bowel movement, somebody should be able to follow you behind and use that same bathroom. But most of the time when you use the bathroom, I gotta go to the bathroom real bad, and then you get out the bed, the next person, oh yeah, I'm going in there. Ooh, oh no, never mind. My kidney done shut down smelling that stuff. I don't gotta go anymore now. My kidney shut down, man. My body protected me, man. Lord have mercy. Y'all got some spray or something? Shut the door. This is ridiculous, But water is very important. Another thing that's very important, the next that I'm gonna give you is, the next thing I want to give you is something, the next is S for start. Sunlight. Sunlight is a good source of vitamin D. Okay? A lot of people, I started doing vitamin D levels on my patients. The majority of the people I've seen have vitamin D deficiency. By far, very seldom that they didn't have it. Vitamin D is important for your bones and things like that. When you don't have that much sunlight, it can lead to a certain amount of depression. People get more depressed in the winter than they get in the summer. And we call that seasonal affective disorder, because you need sun. Why am I going out there in the sun? Because it's too cold, but then you might have to get the blinds up and get some sunlight. But get some sunlight. That's important. Next, T, temperance. These things can lead to stress. Don't overdo things, including working, eating, drinking. Listen to people just drain you out. You gotta take a break. Don't, because it's stressful. Have you seen situations, have you ever gotten on the phone or even talked to somebody? And you notice, after you talk to this one person for 30 minutes, you are worn out. Even less than that. Or 15 minutes you listening, and they feeling better. They feeling better. Because what happened is there's a transfer of energy. They're taking energy out of you. You losing energy. Okay? And then what happened? You just worn out. Or now you irritable. Are you worn out after talking to that person? Sometimes you got to just take time and you got to say, you know what, that phone ring, we got something now called caller ID. We didn't have that when I was coming up. Sometimes you have to talk to them when you're ready to talk to them. Right. And you got to set a limit on that. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about as far as stress. I think did you say you went to Vietnam?
Yeah, he did too.
You went to Vietnam too? Let me ask you guys, I didn't go to Vietnam, I wasn't in Vietnam. But let me ask you guys a question. When you went to Vietnam and you had to go do a, what y'all call it, deployment or whatever you call it, they tell you, they give you an idea when you were coming back? Like, in other words, would the deployment be from here, this date to that date? Did it do that? Right? They did that, right? One of the reasons they did that is because in World War II, they didn't do that. In the World War I and World War II. And what they have found, in order to limit the stress of a person, especially those soldiers and people going to Vietnam, if they can tell them when it's going to come to an end, it helps lower their stress. Even some people who might be in jail, they may, oh, I got so many more days, I'm marking them off, if they're ever going to get out. It lowers their stress. So if you're in a stressful situation, you might need to put a time limit on when it's going to go. Don't do one-way covenants. What's a one-way covenant? Have you ever seen people who they take from you, but they give you nothing in return?
Yeah.
Just drain you out.
Amen.
That's a one-way covenant. This is stress you create on your own. Now, sometimes you can't help it. You know, you have kids, that's a different story because what you're getting out of them is an investment. Okay, so you get something out of that. Okay, and it might be your parent, and you get something out of it. But there are so many people, if you don't be careful, that will wear you out. And there are some people, all they do is use you. Okay? They use you. You think you're all tough and that, they're using you. Okay? Have you seen people that the only time you hear from them is when they need something?
Come on.
I had a person, I had a friend of mine who I grew up with. He called me this week. Okay? I said, I know he wants something. Okay, I never hear from this guy. So I told him, I said, hey man, you know, like every now and then, man, you know, he's in New York. And I said, man, you know, that's why I grew up in New York. I said, man, every now and then, man, you could call and say, hey man, what's up? How you doing? He said, yeah. He said, yeah, you right. 'Cause every time you call is when you want something. Well, he called me up the other day. I said, yeah, there he is going to want something. Hey man, how you doing? I said, oh, I'm doing fine. Hey man, let me ask you about some questions, man. Let me get some medical questions out of you. That's the one. He only called me when he wants something. You gotta let people. Don't let people do that to you, because that makes stress come in you. Okay, you gotta take a break for that, or limit when they do that. Air. Air is very important. Now this, I don't know. This air is so polluted right now with all this stuff, but do you know that you need air in order for you to live? I mean, you know, you can go without food for a while. You can go without even drink for a while. Water, you know, so food is, you can go a month without food. I remember Dick Gregory did that years ago when I was in college. You can go a certain amount of time without water. I don't suggest you do this. You get dehydrated, but you might 3 or 4 days. It depends, without 3 or 4 or 5 days without water. But when it comes down to air, you only can go a few minutes without it. But you also need air for your life. And you want to breathe and get some air in there. Good. Go right near, go near the trees. You know, because it gives you good oxygen right now. We give them, it's an exchange. We give them carbon dioxide when we breathe, and in exchange they give us oxygen. Air is good for your brain. It's also good for your stress level. Okay? R. So I'm running out of letters, so I'm getting close. Rest. You got to get rest. We don't get that much rest these days. Total rest includes, you got to get away from people. You got to get away from people. Jesus did that.
Yeah, that's right.
After he got to that stressful, Jesus did that on a regular basis. Got away from people. Sometimes you got to get away from everything. You got to rest. You got to spend time with yourself. Spend time with God. You can't bring this to your resting place all the time. This right here has caused more stress than almost anything I've seen in all my years. June 1st, I got out of medical school 45 years ago. I've seen the whole gamut of how things have changed. Since they started bringing all these computers and things like that in, and this was his computer, Since they started doing all this kind of stuff, it has stressed us out. People, I remember I went to see, my sister was sick, and she was terminally ill, and I went to see her, and I noticed my niece, she was over there too, and she jumped out of bed, out of the room, and she ran and got, I said, what, everything all right? Oh, yeah, Uncle Pa left my phone, in the kitchen table. I said, yeah, but you sleep. No, I need it anyway. I'll sleep with my phone. Okay? This is a form of stress. Now, again, we have society. So I'm not saying you can't use a phone. I mean, I ain't saying, but you got to isolate yourself. That's what Jesus did. And when you do, don't insult God by saying, I'm isolating myself, then all of a sudden the phone ring, oh, God, hold on for a minute. I'll be back. I'll be 2 minutes, God. Oh, man, but you got to rest. Because if you don't get the proper rest, and your body don't get rest, you ain't going to be able to handle your stress. And the last thing I want to use is T, which is trust. You might have to find a person that you can trust, that you can talk to. They ain't going to put all your business out on the street. It could be a person, it could be your mother, it could be of course, a lot of us don't have that anymore, but it's good to have trust. Somebody who's sympathetic. It takes 2 things for sympathy to occur. One is that somebody who can try to understand you, okay? And someone who can just validate, I can understand why you feel that way. It might be wrong, but they don't criticize you for feeling that way, but get to understand you. Because we need understanding also. Even in the Bible, and of course, you have to also make sure you trust in God. Amen. As it said in Proverbs, trust in the Lord, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, He will direct your path. Don't lean into your own understanding, because that leads to a lot of stress. Trust in God. So in summary, most stress is related, and I'm summarizing right now, most stress is related to family. I guarantee you guys, if you think about it, go home and think about it, it's related to something within your family. It's related to health issues, whether you have a health issue or a loved one have a health issue. And it's related also to something with finance like job. Stress. Anything that is material. Anything that's material. That chair, anything. Our bodies, over a period of time, is going to deteriorate. Okay, we're not the same person we were when we were 20 years old, 30 years old, or whatever. It's not the same. Our body begins to deteriorate. Anything that sits there will deteriorate. Stress makes the body deteriorate more quickly, and it makes the body break down. That leads to disease. When the body breaks down, or the body's just laying there, you got a lot of insects and invisible things that come and start eating you. Disease. Stress leads to disease. Disease leads to disability, and disability and disease eventually lead to death. You see, a lot of times people make the mistake of saying to themselves, oh, you know what? You have what we call chronological ages based on time. We have biological age. You got some people who are 50 years old and they got the body of an 85 or 90-year-old. Don't let anybody tell you that your age is the thing that's making you old. Yeah, I used to hear this thing, especially when I used to be trying to talk to those older women when I was like 18 and 19. Hey, oh, you too young for me. I'm 22. And I said, hey, honey, age is just a number. It's the same thing in real life. I always had a line. I said, age is just a number. Yeah, don't worry about that. Age is just a number. In reality, though, that's a true statement. Your age is just a number. How you take care of yourself is what's more important. And one of the main things that kills you is stress. If you take this chair, or you take this thing and you try to bend it, and you break, just bend it, and you're pushing things on it, or you put something heavy on it, what's going to happen to it? It's going to break, right? Yeah, it's going to fold. It's going to break. It ain't going to be the same. That's the same thing when it comes down to stress. If you keep putting, and I said stress at the beginning is when you put a lot of pressure on something, And eventually, that pressure in your body is going to break you. Just remember, the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Let's protect our bodies by limiting the stress.
Amen.
That's all I got.
Amen.
Anyone have any questions? Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Now it's your turn.
Do you recommend people seek a therapist?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I know I couldn't. That's why I had to let you guys. You're 100% right. There are some times when we need to see a therapist, and that might be you're 100% right. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, there are some people who need to see a therapist. So the answer is yes. That's an excellent point.
When you said the body releases the steroid
Right.
in the body, the effect that causes to the body, is that the same as people taking steroids?
If you take steroids, yeah, you do take steroids. You don't want to take steroids at a high dose. Like sometimes people must take steroids, but yeah, they are long-term effect of taking steroids. The steroids could break down the body. That's why we try to keep the person on the lowest dosage of prednisone and steroids as possible. See, you have to understand, we have three ways we're going to handle stress. We're going to either look at it and let it stress us out, which might be stressful, or we're going to fight it, which might be stressful, or we're going to flight from it, run away from it, which also could be stressful. And I'm not going to be around with this situation anymore.
Right.
Okay, and that might be stressful because you're thinking about the effect that it had on you. But steroids could, yeah, you're right. Steroids, people on steroids get very irritated very easily because steroids do have a bad effect. It does have an effect on the body. It's very good to suppress your immune system in certain times, but yes, it could play a major role. Yeah.
I heard a joke once, and it was said that you said age was just a number.
Yeah.
So the man was out with the young lady,
Right.
and he was sitting there smiling. The young lady thought he was smiling at his beauty, but then he was with somebody his age, and he was smiling. She called EMS because she thought he was having a stroke. But you talking about young men, us being older and having impotency, being impotent, and when we were younger, you give your wife or your girlfriend here, take a no dose. I don't want you to go to sleep yet.
Yeah, right.
Now at our age, you wanted to take a sleeping pill and go to sleep.
Somebody else had their hand up? Oh, yeah, right.
What's your
Okay,
opinion?
now we get you to TC. Yeah, go ahead.
What's your opinion on the Subway restaurant and how healthy is a social life?
Okay, say that again, I'm sorry.
What's your opinion on the Subway restaurant and how healthy is a social life?
Okay.
Subway restaurant.
Subway?
Yeah.
Oh, well, again, it depends. I'll be honest with you, it depends. They have promoted that as healthy, but it depends on what you're eating. I mean, if you go there and you're eating a whole lot of meat, I mean, that's not good for you. Subway sells a lot of meat too. And I'm not saying you can't eat any meat whatsoever. But if you look at the history of the world, look at the Bible, people used to live like 950 years. I mean, we'd be like little kids to them. The youngsters, less than 100 years, but then after the flood, and so forth, that's different. Eventually, God said it was okay for us to eat meat, but on the other hand, we started living less also, less than 100 years. Most people ain't gonna live 100 years. Okay? I think Moses might live 120 years. I know David lived 70. Yeah, because things have changed. So Subway is okay, but it depends on what you order. You're gonna get a big king size soda at Subway too. Yeah.
But I don't disagree with, the plant-based diet, but you don't see that advertised.
Can't make any money on it.
I know, but how the majority of the people going to do that if it's not reinforced?
Exactly. They don't want to reinforce it.
Yeah. So
See, you have to understand the way medicine is. I know I'm on films.
Hold up.
Yeah.
you can tell the truth.
I got a couple of scientists. Yeah, I got a couple of scientists here, so y'all can't answer this. So I already did this in front of TC, and I've done it. He's a scientist too. So you take a look at this, right? Okay, let me ask you guys a question. If you're a scientist, please refrain yourself. You see this pen and this thing right here? What's gonna hit the ground first?
Water.
The water, right? That's what you said?
Yes.
Anybody else say water? Why is the water gonna hit it first?
Heavy.
It's heavier, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did it hit it first?
Same like the same time.
Same time. So the answer is wrong. It's not the heavier thing. Gravity did that. So we're invisible. I'm glad you're doing that, brother, because I won't be able to get back up. Yeah, so you're right, but I'm just trying to show you some things, and I can go more detailed because we're electrical force. You ever see something, you go, oh, I sting myself. You're filled with electricity and things like that. Your heart, EKG, EEG in the brain, different things, different nerves for your hearing. All these things, the forces of evil will attack you through stress. And the same way I have knowledge of this, and I can go into some stuff that's so really way out. It's very important that you keep your stress level down, and you got to get away. That's what Jesus did. All of the prophets did that. Okay? Jesus got away. If you talk to the Muslims, they will tell you the Prophet Muhammad got away. Matter of fact, he's the one that got away, and when he came back with the Quran. You know, but he wasn't an educated man, but he came back with the Quran. That's what's being on right now. We celebrating Lent. Okay, in Islam, they're celebrating right now this week. They're celebrating Ramadan. The key is no matter what, the Buddha, all that, Hinduism, one thing they all had in common, they got stressed out and they went and got away and spent some private time with themselves and private time with God. That's very important to know that. You got to spend some time with yourself. But most people don't want to spend time with themselves because they're so afraid they don't want to look at themselves. They're so afraid what they're going to hear. They're so afraid we're going to do. You got to be born again, like he said, that horrible thing he went through. People in the military, certain things like that. The biggest treatment for stress is not the medication. There's sometimes we have to put people on medication, but we have a society that's dependent upon medications. What we got to do is we got to depend upon don't look outside of you. The power is not outside of you to control stress. The power is not outside. This is where all the stress is, outside of you. On the news, on this. I have a patient of mine, his blood pressure always up, this up. I said, man, what time do you look at the news at night before you go to bed? He said, well, I just look at, how you know I look at the news? I don't look at that often. I said, how you know I look at the news? His wife said, yeah. Because the way his blood pressure stuff going up, because you end the day with, you start the day with the news many times and you end it with bad news. Mm-hmm. How can you go to sleep with that and go into a deep sleep? Your brain is constantly moving when you're dreaming. You're not resting. When you're dreaming, you're not resting. Do you know that? Mm-hmm. You ever had sometimes you were so tired, when you really knocked out, you can't remember even dreaming about anything. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, haven't you guys had some dreams? Mm-hmm. Haven't you guys had some nightmares at times? You're not resting, your mind ain't resting. You got to get to the point where you can meditate and rest and get away from things and get rid of that stress. The stress is killing us. It's making us depressed. It's making us obese. It's causing all these kind of things. It's destroying us, especially men. Men don't live as long as women. You know, women can cry. Women can do this and do that. I had a situation where I had an office next door. There was this lady next door. She had a little medical place that she was working at, and she was real bad on her workers. So what happened is that one day the secretaries came in there. The woman came in there. And she was crying, and I need to see Dr. Thompson. I'm gonna do this. And she's crying and crying and crying. And the girls at the office said, "Oh, honey, it's okay. It's okay." And they took her to the back and sat her down and gave her some water and all that kind of thing. It was this man. I have to admit, he was a little bit. Two females came there crying. And people had so much sympathy for him. We had a man. I had to admit, he wasn't on the soft side. About 30 minutes later, he came in and opened the door. I want to see Dr. Thompson. I want to see him right now. I couldn't get my staff stop laughing. They were laughing so much. They said, "Yeah, I am suicidal right now." And I said, "Y'all, what's so funny about that?" And what happened was he was a man, because a man not supposed to cry. Man, let me tell y'all something. The older I get, look, and you do it privately, cause we look at you as weak, go someplace and cry.
Right.
Right. Okay? Go someplace, they don't have to know it. Just go someplace and cry.
I've got a Google speaker at home, so at the end of my day, you know, I watch the news at night, 11 o'clock news to 11:30.
Uh-huh.
But before I go to sleep, I got one of those Google speaker things, and I'll ask it to play, I say, Google, play some Duda radio mix for 1 hour.
Okay.
And so sometimes it have a stream of water, and it has violins or piano playing softly in the background, and I let that just, and the wife said, but sometimes it's just doing the same sounds over and over and over, but it's relaxing to me. And now it has become relaxing to her. So we both lie there and everything is just, you know.
Exactly. I remember I first got married, and I used to play water, like ocean sounds, right? Do you know water, right? Okay? When you were being born in there, right? When you were born in there, you have fluid around you, water, amniotic fluid, right? That brings you back to your, you know, sit down and listen to some ocean sound, you know, the water. Because it brings you back to the most peaceful time of your life, is when you're in your mother's womb.
Yeah, you can't
When we
play
first came
Isaac
out.
Hayes or Beyonce or none of them.
No, they can't. No, Beyonce wasn't. You want to think about Beyonce when you're in your mother's womb?
No.
At least I don't think so. Yeah, but play some ocean. Play some ocean music and let that relax you at the end. Or rain or water. Water is healing. Water is for stress. Not only to drink it, but to listen to it. Because what happens when a water bag break for a woman? When she's pregnant. Let's say you have somebody at home and the water break. What does that mean? What you gonna do?
Had a baby.
Yeah, you either have it there or you're gonna take it to the hospital, right?
Get her out.
Because with that, you gotta get, because you know what? Once that water disconnection goes, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't care if the baby's only 25 weeks old, okay, which is very premature. You gotta get that baby out.
That's right.
You gotta get it out.
I know for me-
Water is very important.
For me, when, like, in California, what I do, I take, there's two places, well, I got several places that I go by myself, you know, and one of them is to this beach, and it's a cliff and it overlooks the ocean. Cause
There you go.
when I'm at that spot, it's like, I hear from God. It's
Yeah,
like whether
there you
it's
go.
a message or whether it's a poem, cause I write poetry too.
There you go.
So that's where I get my thoughts, cause it's just me and him.
There you go.
The other one is I take a drive to Oxnard, which is through Malibu on the Pacific Coast Highway.
Oh, yeah.
So you got the
Beautiful
ocean on one
There you
side,
go.
and then you got the mountains with $1 million homes on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a peaceful drive once you get out of the
Exactly.
city, and I do that to get away from the city.
Exactly. Right. You're doing it confirmed. Okay, Casey? Wait, Casey, up here had a question.
I mean, you might already answer though. That's why I'm debating on asking this question. Because I know in the Bible it says in end times, young men hearts will fail them. But I'm looking around, I don't really don't see young men hearts fail them. I'm seeing young men dying from depression.
I mean, it fails them.
But they said, I mean, that's what confused me with the Bible. It says they heart. I mean, is depression
But then I'm
affecting
talking about
the heart?
emotions in your heart.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm just talking about emotions, your heart for emotions and things like that. So your emotions is a form of stress. They can feel you.
But our culture is teaching us to suppress your feelings.
But I just talked about that. Did I
That's
talk
what I'm
about
saying.
culture?
You
That would
might have-
stress you. That's stress.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You might have answered my
Right.
question.
I talked about how the culture does that. You know, how things like your culture and how things like tradition and how things like your reasoning, how things like your emotions, that's what I talked about. That's stress.
We went to Nevada a couple of years ago, Jerome, his friend, myself, and we went to this place called Red Mountain or something like that. And so it was relaxing for us to walk all through there, looking at all the red rocks and everything. But then we saw this sign say Gila Monster. That stressed everybody out because we didn't know what the Gila Monster was at that time. And so one of the ladies said, "What's going to happen if we see a Gila Monster?" And Jerome said, "I guess the slowest one is going to get ate." but stress came on just by reading that one sign.
And then but you know, our natural habitat, you know, we were in a garden and, you know, that's our natural habitat. If you ever go into nature And look how relaxing the squirrels and all them are, just running around that. And then soon when they come out to our world, they get hit by cars, they get hit by this, they get hit by that. And that's the kind of stress we're dealing with on a regular basis. Okay, so we just have to get away. You know, we just have to get away sometime. You know how they said that old, they had the old song, distill away. You gotta distill away, man, to yourself. And like I said, if you gotta get some of that water out by crying, it's okay to cry. You know, that gets rid of a lot of stress. Go do it privately if you want to do it. Yeah, he had a question, yeah.
How do you prepare to get away?
You gotta make a way.
There you go.
You gotta take time for yourself. One thing about time, we all have a limited amount of it. Now, how much time? We like a battery. And when God put us on this planet, he assigns Psalm 139, he assigns a certain amount of time. You gotta make the time. Use 24 hours in a day. So you gonna tell me that if we say that I can't make a time? So you know how you schedule things, okay? You working at Clemson. Don't you follow a schedule at times? Put that on your schedule. No, I'm serious. That's what I do. You got to schedule it. And so I got a meeting to go to. The meeting is what's your first name again?
Andrew.
I got to have a meeting with Andrew. They got to be on your itinerary. You can schedule it. And somebody else had their hand up.
TC?
Well, Doc, two things. I like what you said. There is such a thing as called quiet time.
Yeah.
With God.
Right.
And if you ever get programmed to it, it's like anything else. You really don't want to miss it. And sometimes to the fact that when you miss your quiet time, then you just don't feel right. It's like you hadn't ate and you're hungry. You know, but quiet time is the time that we spend, amen, with God. And like you said, you have to make that time. People have to make that time. You know, and it's up to individuals. Amen. Amen. And Doc, your time, you got about 2 minutes.
Well, speaking about the concept of time, you told me I got 2 minutes. Yeah, TC, that's right, you.
Hey, you know, in the beginning, you started talking about if you go into the bathroom and you smell an odor, you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to smell anything that somebody has had a bowel movement.
No. No, we call that putrefaction. And what that means is that imagine that inside of your body, sitting in your colon, stinking, germs and all that kind of stuff. And what the germs do, they get into your blood system. Now your immune system eat it up. But you should not be, your bowel movement shouldn't be stink.
Oh
Like
boy.
that. For the perfect health. It shouldn't be that bad. And you got some people so bad, you would think they're not like an atomic bomb in there or something like that. But no, it's not. No, if you stinking in there, what do you think that stuff was? It was in your body. It was in your body stinking. And what did that lead to? That lead to disease. So you need to move those bowels too. You need to urinate and you need to move your bowels. Moving your bowels is very important.
When I was in the military, I was in the bathroom. I don't know if y'all know what Magic Shave is.
Yeah.
It's a powder. It used to stink really bad.
Yeah.
And I was in there and I had used it on my face. And this guy came. He said, "Man, I couldn't. What's going on?" I said, "It's him." There was a guy in the John sitting down, but I didn't want to tell him it was my Magic Shave that was stinking.
Yeah. But no, you're supposed to, put it in there. Yeah. But stress, and that stresses your colon too. That leads to disease and things like that.
So you tell them we could be just like a gorilla. All they do is eat plants, and these things are beasts. I mean, they can lift anything.
That's right. I realized that God even said, and I think it's after the flood, you can eat, okay to eat anything, including me, but our lifetime went down also.
Yeah.
But plant-based is usually better. I'm not saying you have to eat 100% plant-based, but I'm saying most people's diet is composed of a lot of meat. It's mostly meat. I'm just saying cut down on your meat. That's all I'm saying. Cut down dramatically on your meat. That's what I'm saying. I'm not telling you not to eat it at all. I'm saying cut down dramatically on it. Because your bowels don't move it as well either. Just cut down on it. If you can't go plant-based, at least cut down on the meat.
I have a question, well, not really a question, but, it says, you read about it, it takes your body a long time to break down, red meat.
Oh, yeah.
So meat, it stays in the system for a long time, so it's actually, spores inside your body,
Oh, yeah.
or rots inside your
All
body.
meat.
Cause it doesn't digest like it's supposed to.
Absolutely. Meat, chicken, the chicken too, and things like that, but you're right, especially red meat. You're talking about heart attack.
Yeah.
Thing you talked about, yeah, those kind of stuff lead to heart attacks. You know, physical heart attacks. And you're right, you know, red meat, but a lot, now what they're doing to chicken and doing to turkey and doing to all the other things, genetic modifying, you know, doing hybrids and genetically modifying things, that stresses your body, which eventually leads to fatigue, it leads to disease, it leads to death. And so he doesn't want you to do God's work. He wants you to be disabled.
Yes.
And God's work can be anything, doing what you're doing, like exercising, teaching people how to exercise just sitting down.
Yeah.
You know, but if you can't do it and mentally you messed up, you can't help people.
Right.
So being a minister is not just preaching in church or teaching, it's also going out to the world and doing good things. That's ministering also. The stress is the main factor that the force of evil, in my opinion, this is my opinion, stress is the main factor the forces of evil use to get you. And that's why the Spirit led Jesus to go out into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil, to be tested by God, because God doesn't tempt you. He tests you. God said, let me put Jesus to some stress here to see how he handles this. And he handled it perfectly. But he was under a lot of stress. And you look in the book of Mark, chapter 1, he wasn't out there by himself. Look at Mark chapter 1. A lot of people don't realize that. He was also out there with some wild beasts.
Yep, exactly.
Did you know that? Mark chapter 1. Now, if God sent me out there at night in the desert, and it's dark out there, and I hear something go, oh, Lord, I'm sorry. Someone there like, man, thank you, but I'm out of here. I was afraid to move because I thought someone was going to eat me up. I couldn't see. But stress will kill you. So let's go home and think about it. Go home and rest. And at the end of your day, I'm saying one more thing real quick. At the end of your day, what did God do at the end of, Casey should not answer this. At the end of each day when God was creating the earth, what did he do at the end of the day? Yes. He rested, and what else did he do? He looked and he saw it was good. You need to go home and remember that, Casey?
Good.
He looked back and he saw it was good. We need at the end of our day, take a few minutes of rest. It can be 5, 10, 15 minutes. You can make that time. You got 15 minutes. I got 15 minutes. You got 15 minutes. And look back on your day and say, was it good or was it bad? What messages did God send you during the day that you just totally ignore because you're so stressed out, not even hearing the message of a young kid? Right. You might be getting some messages, but you're so stressed out you can't even receive it. Mm-hmm. Look over your day and see what happened.
So we should meditate for 15 minutes a day?
No, I just throw out an arbitrary number, whatever time you want to take.
Okay.
Yeah. And you got to listen to God too, the two-way conversation. Any relationship involves two-way conversation. You got to listen to God too. If I'm in a conversation and get to know him, people have a tendency to do this to God. Hey, Mr. Tommy, this, every day. Okay, thank you. See you. What kind of relationship I'm developing? Yeah. Sometimes I listen to what he has to say or what she has to say. Mm-hmm. And we don't have time to do that. Why? I'm so stressed out. I gotta get my stuff on the microwave. Mm. Get rid of that stress, folks. Do the best you can. Think about what I said. New start. Mm-hmm. Be a new person. Be born again, like Jesus said.
I tell you what, I'm gonna let y'all continue to talk, just sit on down there. I'm gonna take up an offering while you just continue to.
Well, I just let y'all answer questions, brother.
Yeah.
Questions you have.
Yeah. I would like to say this, when you said that. I've done a lot of stress when I was, not necessarily working, but driving, from Charlotte to, back down home every weekend. And I always tell this story. I said, never had a regular DM in 13 years. But after I retired, amen, then I started having a regular know the stress on the highway. We're taking up often that.
Supporting the conference, do the best you can. God bless you, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Amen. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions about stress or, and I guess I couldn't go into depression because I mean, like I said, I mean, you can see how long it took to do stress and I still didn't cover everything. I still didn't cover everything.
I think,
That's what
me and the board, we don't think too much about it, but, you know, we wrestle with, depression. And since because of some things, you know, we'd just like to throw that out. And,
I forget anybody?
yeah, because of the mercies and the grace of God, amen, we all overcome. Amen. Amen. We press forward, we will not step back, but we continue to press forward.
Well, I wanna say something about the depression. I mean, I had a case, well, still dealing with depression, and what helped me was reading, Isaiah.
Amen.
61:7, read Isaiah. He talks about, instead of shame and dishonor, in your land you will receive a double portion. Everlasting joy. I mean, that just, when I read that scripture, it just, it lit a light inside of me. Now I'm like, look, the Lord gonna give me everlasting. I mean, what does that look like? When you just think about it. And it said a double portion, and I was thinking, like, my goodness, the Lord gonna give me a double portion. So you put yourself in that scenario. Now, I was thinking, like, how is the Lord gonna give me a double portion of all the stress and stuff I've been through? I was trying to figure out how the Lord's gonna bless me with a double portion. And then well, to make a long story short, my wife became pregnant. So now we're having 2 children. Now we will have two children. So that I believe that was God's answer to my double portion.
Man, I'm from Africa, man. Love children.
Whatever he give you. That's why you have that, they gotta have that population, yeah, so whatever.
So I just wanted to share that story.
Oh, yeah.
I remember we created some stress when I was trucking. You can imagine there's 3 of us, 3 trucks in the right lane going down through Louisiana on I-10. And this guy came up beside me, he flipped me the bird. And so I said, hey man, that guy flipped me the bird. So the guy in the very front, he did what? I tell him again, he flipped me the bird. So he pulled over into the fast lane. And so when the guy passed me and he got beside the truck that was in front of me, he said, get behind him. So I pulled in behind him. And so we carried him on down the interstate. He turned his turn signal on because he wanted to make a right, get off the expressway. We wouldn't allow him to get off the expressway. And the next exit was like 10 miles past it. We carried him past that exit. And he got mad. When he saw he had passed his exit, he turned and went into the median. He got stuck out there. Can you imagine? He wanted to hurt somebody after that. And I didn't think about it till years later. I said, man, we caused some issues for that guy. He was gonna have to get his tar towed out of that water, probably a ticket from the police because he was out there in the first place. But life goes on, and you think about things that you did in the past.
Oh, yeah.
How much stress somebody may have caused you, but how much stress you may have caused somebody else.
And another thing very important, he was talking about forgiveness. Another thing you gotta do also, you gotta forgive yourself.
Amen.
That's one of the main things we gotta do, because all of us have done some things and said some things that we shouldn't, have done or said. We can't do anything about it, but one of the biggest stress that people carrying, because one thing about being a doctor, people tell you, I guess they tell the doctor and most of the pastor, there are so many people who are stressed out because they haven't forgiven themselves. You gotta forgive, but in order for you to forgive yourself, you gotta sit down on the side and think about what I'm forgiving myself for. But I don't want to think about that. You gotta forgive yourself. Because all of us have said and done some things we shouldn't have done. All of us that we regret. Forgive yourself. Because that stress is another form of stress. Not forgiving yourself.
I have a question, brother man right here. What you think about the black men today than it was when you was younger? Do you think we work together more? Like, the black men, did y'all have to work together more when you was younger? Or do you think we weaker now as a black man?
Oh, I think, you talking about from my point of view when I came up, I wasn't working with the,
Did y'all had to work together a whole lot more than what we did?
oh, black people in coming, oh, yeah. Yeah, they accomplished anything back when I was coming up. Yeah, it was very, very important for us, for black people to stick together.
Oh, yeah.
To the point you're talking about now, oh, Lord, yeah. I can tell you that. It was very important for us. Yeah, sure.
We used to call each other brothers too, right?
Yeah, oh,
No matter
yeah.
what, we had our own little handshake.
Yes.
No, I don't care, but we were much more together than these youngsters now.
Much.
But that was designed also, to be honest, to split us apart.